It's estimated that work-related stress could be costing the European economy 136 billion euros, and work-related stress may be responsible for 1/5 of staff turnover. We can't always be on. Now, I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, I'd be recording my own brain activity, in particular my levels of stress and focus. And if this demonstration works, in a moment, I'm going to show you that recording, I'm going to switch workspaces, and we'll see what we can find out. Okay, take a look at that red line. See the peak in stress at the beginning of this demonstration? Take a look at that yellow line. Continuous rhythms in focus. Take a look at the bottom window that actually shows the recording from early on in the presentation. There's one thing that I want you to take away from this demonstration. It's this. Even during what is perhaps the most demanding 15 minutes of my speaking career so far, I couldn't always be on. I couldn't always be focused. Thankfully, I couldn't always be stressed. Now, perhaps you don't wear one of these EEG headsets routinely, but are you aware of your rhythms? Do you work with them? Do you work against them? Do you ignore them completely? We need a framework to plan for cognitive endurance. And inspired by that simple structure to plan for physical endurance in endurance sport based on those zones, I came up with a plan for cognitive endurance that I call cognitive gears. So imagine for a moment there is a low cognitive gear that's characterized by times of rest, recovery, and reflection. There is a medium cognitive gear and a high cognitive gear characterized by times of focus for analysis and productivity. But think for a moment about that medium cognitive gear, those menial tasks and the switching work that characterizes at least most of knowledge workers' days. If you think about your average day in the context of those three gears, how do you spend your time? The majority of us find that we spend most of our day stuck in a cognitive middle gear. A middle gear that is characterized by being caught in pseudo work and switching, feeling stressed and on someone else's schedule, pulling our phone out at every opportunity that makes it harder to switch into high gear and down into low gear when we really need to. So what's the solution? Because our schedules feel packed, we've got back-to-back meetings, we're answering phone calls in the middle of the night. Well, I think it begins quite simply by making a commitment to not make perfect an enemy of good enough. And maybe start with an experiment. This could be an experiment that you do at an individual level. It could be an experiment that you do at an organizational level. But whatever the case, as we approach the finish line today, I'm going to share some practical ideas to take this theory and put it into action. The first ideas are for that high cognitive gear, where to focus your effort. Begin by scheduling that high gear work with the peak in your day. Pay attention to when you are at your best. During this time, experiment with working 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off, rather than checking your communication tools once every 6 minutes. Engineer an environment for focus. As leaders, we have a responsibility to engineer an environment for focus for our teams which minimizes distraction and interruption. For that low cognitive gear, when to take a rest. We'll begin by scheduling rest and reflection for the valley in your day. Remember, the most effective breaks are active, social, and natural. Go for a walk with someone that you like, look at the trees. Once upon a time, I think it was called a lunch break. Finally, sleep 7 to 9 hours per night. As leaders, try to create an environment and rhythm that means your team, on average, can sleep 7 to 9 hours per night, because sleep is one of the most effective performance enhancers that we have available. And for that middle cognitive gear, how do you find and follow your own rhythm? We'll begin by putting some boundaries around those switching tasks. Synchronize those menial tasks with the rebound in your day. And don't be among the 79% of people who start their day by checking their email, because starting the day with email is starting on someone else's schedule. Adequate sleep, manageable stress could result in 10 to 15% better cognitive performance. Improving employee well-being is estimated to result in productivity improvements of 19%. If individuals who slept under 6 hours started to sleep adequately, it could be worth 13 billion euros per year to the Nordic economy. And the effect on the individual could be real focus, reduced stress, enhanced recovery. Well-being is set to become a business value of strategic importance. So what is the key to sustainable high performance? Well, I actually think there are 3. The first is to be clear about where to focus your effort. Secondly, it's to be disciplined about when and where to rest. And finally, perhaps most importantly, find and follow your own rhythm. Pay attention to when you are at your best. Knowledge work, it's an endurance activity. Thank you.